me now.
We're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Thursday to all of you on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is Game On, joining you every single week from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out on worldwidesportsradio.com, YouTube, Instagram, Periscope, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Job on the Mouth have their own TikTok as well, and so much more. We are going to be extended tonight past 7 o'clock. We got a couple of guests that are coming on. One of them is waiting with us, so we are going to bring him on in a couple of minutes. Big day today. We have Eric here in the studio.
Huge.
We have Speedy. Massive.
Also huge.
So it's going to be great. Very much looking forward to discussing everything. I mean, there's still things that are being broken right now as we're speaking. Apparently the Mets and the Astros are working hard to still get a starter and everything like that. So it's crazy. And of course, he's going to be joining us in a little bit. We'll give him another minute or so. He covers the Yankees and Knicks for Elite Sports and why. And he's a huge wrestling fan. I spoke to him earlier today, Josh Benjamin. He's going to be joining us in a minute. Boys, this is a big day.
Huge.
And this was probably one of the absolute, I would say, Eric Speedy, could you remember a bigger trade deadline happening than we had in a long time than we had today? It was just
for everybody, though. Although there's one part that I'm kind of shocked the domino pieces did not happen in fall, right? You had the position players go, domino effect, the relievers go. But what about the starting pitching and the big names in the starting pitching?
Yeah, well, Charlie Morton just got traded
to the Tigers.
So I mean, like I said, things are breaking in, things are happening, and we're gonna bring him in right now, and he's gonna cover it all. And we're gonna give our intake after Josh is done. There got two Joshes on this show, ladies and gentlemen. Again, it's a pleasure to have him on. I know everything. I know he's busy covering the Yankees and everything with the game today. And then, of course, the Knicks decided, hey, Josh, let me throw you a curveball about Mikal Bridges on trade deadline day. He covers the Knicks and the Yankees for Elite Sports. And why? Mr. Josh Benjamin. Josh, thanks for joining us this evening, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Listen, we're glad you're on. We're glad you're here. I explained to you, Eric's a big Yankee fan. The Mets were doing all their moves with the bullpen yesterday, and Eric was like, well, the Yankees could still be on this guy and that guy. And I said to Eric, can you just let the Mets have their moment one time? Because like 10 years ago, this was all a Yankee day, and the Mets were out there getting Chris Young and stuff like that.
I was trying to explain that it was still early.
But it was. I mean, Josh, you've covered the team, you've covered the Yankees. Can you remember just a day alone, not just for the Mets and the Yankees, but a day where all this pandemonium happened, all this movement happened at the trade deadline, where pieces were even happening yesterday and then, of course, today?
That's a really good question, Josh. The first one that comes to mind in recent memory is obviously 2016. That's when Brian Cashman, offloaded Aroldis Chapman to the Cubs in the now famous Gleyber Torres trade. He sent Andrew Miller to Cleveland, got Clint Frazier back. And if you go back even further, this is even before Brian Cashman. This is back when Gene Michael was the manager. In 1995, they traded Danny Tartabull, formerly a very big power hitter, like 30 home run guy. I think he had a 30 home run, 100 RBI season with the Yankees in the early 90s. They sent him to the Oakland A's for Ruben Sierra, instrumental in getting the Yankees to the playoffs that year. And then 2000, the Mets were big in on Mike Bordick to play shortstop that year. And yeah, it's really hard because you guys follow baseball too. At some point, everything starts to blend together. But there's been a lot of movement today. I'll say this much: this is the most recently that I remember there being so much action after 6 o'clock or after the deadline. Because right now we just got in the Griffin Jacks trade. I love this trade for the Twins. They're getting Taj Bradley back from the Rays, really talented young fireball and starter.
It really is, and that's the thing that everybody always says. Like, it's 6 o'clock, right? Put your pencils down. Test is over. That and so much more. But then it's like you're still seeing deals go through left and right last few minutes. I mean, I just saw online that the Mets and the Yankees are both done dealing, but the Yankees made, we'll start there first, the Yankees made a move literally a couple minutes ago to get Camilo Doval from the San Francisco Giants and, of course, David Bednar today as well to add to the bullpen. Obviously, just like with the Mets and other teams, the starting pitching market, other than Merrill Kelly, was the only big name starter that went and everything of the nature. Do you think the Yankees, in your mind, did enough? Was there something that maybe they left on the table that you wish they maybe said, we could have pushed it a little bit further? Or do you think, all right, we got Bednar, we got Duvall, we got McMahon the other day, we got Rosario for depth, we're done, we're fine. Judge will be back in 2 weeks or whatever it is.
This is just my 2 cents, Josh. I personally would have made a little more aggressive a play for someone like Mitch Keller on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Doesn't get a ton of strikeouts, more of a ground ball guy. And another way, you could have gone for either Sandy Alcantara or Eddie Cabrera out in Miami. The main hang-up seemed to be that the Yankees really don't seem to want to trade Spencer Jones, which makes me think. Now first off, Eric, you followed the Yankees for a long time.
Yep.
Except for Juan Soto, and even that's arguable, Brian Cashman has never lost a guy he truly could not lose. And if you look at Spencer Jones this year, yeah, he's having a career year down in the minors. He's raking, but the strikeout rate is still there. So you have to wonder now, has he actually made an adjustment with that hit tool, or is he just going to go back to being Joey Gallo again? Clearly, if the Yankees are hanging on to him, they're seeing enough that they want to give him another shot next year. So, yeah, I would have gone for someone. I would have preferred to go for another starting pitcher just because I don't really trust the back end of the rotation as it is right now. But even so, Brian Cashman, he has had this job for as long as he has for a reason. You don't have to agree with every move he makes, but he has a process. You have to trust it. He's never had a losing season, plain and simple.
Exactly. I mean, and speaking of Spencer Jones, you talked about what he's doing now, right? The trade value was there, then it lost, some of its razzle, and it came back in full force. Like you said, my concern is the back end, right? Will Warren is stretched out to go for a full season, then add playoffs on top of everything. Same thing with Cam Schlittler. Same thing. Is he going to be stretched out, right? So then after Fried, Rodon, you're kind of relying on Stroman a little bit, right? To see. You hope Luis Hill comes back to what he can be. But yeah, I was kind of shocked that not just for the Yankees, but a lot in the entire league, starting pitching wasn't moved as fast or as quickly either.
I think that with the Yankees, though, when it comes to their rotation, Luis Hill, he's probably going to be back on Sunday against the Marlins. I'm cautiously optimistic on Hill, not just because of the kind of pitcher he is, but because of how slow the Yankees brought him back. Because he was hurt early enough in spring training that you had to figure, okay, he could probably come back in July, early mid-July if he wanted to. But they really took their time with him. And so I think that if you get Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, and then you get someone like Luis Hill, or maybe Will Ron to sort of do like a combo day. I don't know. There's plenty of ways that they could go about this. They know how to utilize all the various arms they have. Cam Schlittler, though, I think that he's a lock for the bullpen very soon, just on the strikeout ability alone.
When I view how everything unfolded today, I know people are on the fence with what the Yankees are trying to do. Like I said, you cover the team on a daily basis, Josh. Do you feel with the moves that they made today, did they get closer to being a champion, like a World? Obviously, you have to put them, because they're the Yankees, in the World Series category. But did you put them in the range of, okay, yeah, they're in that World Series bubble with an American? I'll just do the American League with the Astros, with the Tigers, with the Blue Jays, any of those teams? Or are you still like, they're a wild card team, they'll get into the tournament? If you get in, great, that's wonderful. But I just don't think they did enough today to salvage the season so far, because it's been such a tumultuous season. I mean, it started at the beginning of the year with the Garrett Cole injury, and now Judge is out for a few weeks.
That's a really good question. Look, what the Yankees did today, it's certainly not a lateral move. David Bednar is great. Camilo Doval, fantastic. I really like what they've done with the bullpen as a whole. However, I'm going to stick by with what I said about the Yankees earlier at the start of the year. I still think the American League is very much theirs to lose. And I said early on, they have a chance to get back to the ALCS. The path there, it's just going to be way uglier than 2024. And sure enough, what has it been? The Yankees are in the middle of their annual midsummer slump. And I don't know. It all depends on how the lineup comes together down the stretch. The thing about the American League, though, all of the teams have the same issue. They're all trying to figure out who's going to get them their innings down the stretch. Because the Blue Jays, they traded for Shane Bieber. He's coming off Tommy John. How good is he going to be? The Tigers, who's going to get them all their innings behind Tarek Skubal and Jack Flaherty, who is a walking injury waiting to happen? The Astros, they're really good at developing pitchers, but can they stay healthy? Can they get those innings? I don't know. It's really tough. The American League is wide open. The National League is completely stacked. It's anybody's game, truly.
And we talk about one New York team. We'll go to the other New York team. The two moves that the Mets made yesterday, I heard bits and pieces on them with Helsley. You didn't hear too much with it. You heard obviously you heard the names. You heard Bednar, right? Duvall, the closers that were available. You know, Miller was another one. That was, you were hearing rumblings about. We'll get to the Padres in a minute. I can't believe what they gave up for Miller, but I mean, that was A.G. Preller doing what he does. Duran, you heard that, but then you get Helsley. And you got Soto last week, but the shrewd move that they did, and everybody was panicking yesterday when the move happened for Taylor Rogers, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, they gave up all that for Rogers." And I'm like, on the surface, who did they really give up? Because, Budo had not been great the last few weeks. He was on the fence of a DFA at some point. You had, on top of that, Blake Tillwell, who had multiple outings, multiple opportunities this year as a starter and as a reliever, and he did not do well with either one of those, right? So you add that into it, and he also fell once like McLean and Sproul. The big one everybody was talking about was Drew Gilbert. Why would you go with Drew Gilbert? And I kept saying to people, well, Gilbert's 25, he's injury prone, and Carson Benz just completely, who they drafted last year, is hitting 330 in AA right now and is a top 60 prospect this year. That's the part. Do you feel? And then, of course, the Mets getting Mullins today. Do you like what the Mets did? I can't because Josh, I can't get mad at them about not getting a starter because Merrill Kelly was the only big name that got moved in the starters market. It seemed like the bullpen was the theme this year.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get, like you said, you can't get too mad about what the Mets did. I personally think they mildly overpaid for Tyler Rogers, as great as Rogers is. But I'm going to go ahead and cite something from MLB Trade Rumors that was posted yesterday by former Mets GM Zach Scott. One thing he talked about being in the war room is that if you are in first place with a narrow lead, the pressure to keep that is enormous. And he cited specifically the Mets trading Pete Crow Armstrong for Javi Baez. I think that when it comes to they didn't have the pieces to add a starter like Alcantara, like Cabrera, like Dylan Cease. So I think that what they decided to do was, you know what, the best thing we can do is just give the starters we have more support in the bullpen. So you go out and get a ground ball machine like Tyler Rogers. You get a star closer like Ryan Helsley, who racks up strikeouts like it's his job. And in doing that, you kind of, I think, say, all right, we're going all in on this year. We are trying to just sort of stave off, prevent runs, kind of hope the Phillies stay streaky. And with Cedric Mullins to kind of keep up with the Phillies, yeah, he's kind of a streaky bat, but he's going to add more pop to that lineup. So I think that with the Mets, you're taking that risk for the short-term gain as opposed to that long-term risk with someone like Gilbert. And that it just goes to what Michael Kay says all the time. Prospects are suspect. Drew Gilbert, look, he could go to the Giants and be like a regular 30 home run guy. We don't know. But the Mets are deciding they want to win this year. They got two arms that can really help them. Edwin Diaz has a lot of support right now. I'm excited to see where they go down the stretch.
Same thing. Prospects are suspects, right? A.J. Preller kind of has the same mentality.
Prospects are paper. That's what they are. My father always told me that prospects are just paper. They're nothing until they get to the majors. And when it happens,
what was the saying? Prospects are cool, parades are cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But I mean, Josh, what do you think of that with A.J. Preller trading probably the number 3 overall prospect for Mason Miller and then some? But part two, were you shocked that they didn't move Cease and Suarez?
I have a lot to say on that, but Josh, you go first.
Look. There's a reason that the Padres didn't move Dylan Cease. He's not pitching well this year. He's not having a good year. It's a nightmare contract year. It's one of those cases of who actually wants him. Suarez, it's the same thing. Relief pitchers are suspect. They're up and down. I say this all the time. These are guys who throw 2, maybe 3 pitches on a good night, and they're lucky if one of them's ever working. And so, in turn, I could see why they wanted to add someone like Mason Miller, who throws absolute gas. Why they brought in Nestor Cortez from the Brewers, who's crafty as can be, and just throws, I don't know, like 7 different types of sliders with 6 different types of windup. So the Padres are clearly see that the Padres are the Tiger Sharks in San Diego. They smell the blood in the water that is the Dodgers running their pitchers into the ground. And I think that this is their way of saying, all right, we are going to strike everybody out, and we trust our lineup. And, hey, Dodgers, we're coming for you.
So what about the team like the Astros? Carlos Correa that goes back over there. They were obviously in the market for a little more pitching. You said C's maybe wasn't the move for them. Did they make themselves the class of the American League?
Guys, I remember I caught so much flack in 2022 saying, yeah, the Houston Astros are going to win the World Series, but this is also their weakest team since they went on their roll. And ever since then, this team has been in complete and utter denial, in my opinion, that they need to do a rebuild sometime soon. Now, granted, give credit where it's due. This team develops pitchers well. Christian Javier, Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown. These guys know how to develop arms. But at the same time, they traded Kyle Tucker. Jose Altuve is getting old. And what's their answer? They go ahead and just – it's desperation, man. That's all I got to say. That's all I can say is desperation.
Are we surprised that the Dodgers didn't do anything? Because I was a little taken back. Like listen, I feel like once you're wearing a Dodger uniform, Josh, you pick up a baseball, you're going on the IL. You don't even have to throw it. You just pick it up and you're done. Yeah, you look at the injuries they've had this year. It's insane, craziness. We know healthy. They're the best team in baseball. We get it. But are you surprised they didn't accomplish really much at this deadline, or were you just like, you know what, they're gonna wait for the guys to get back? Snell's pitching this weekend. That's gonna be our trade deadline is when we get all of our guys back, especially after the Ohtani scare yesterday.
It's certainly a bit of a column A, column B type situation with the Dodgers because, yeah, they have a lot of guys coming back from injuries, but at the same time, like Jeff Passan said in an interview last year, when it comes to pitchers, the best ability is availability, and the Dodgers just don't have that with their arms because the fact of the matter is, guys, any trade you make today right now, if it involves a player of any note, it's going to require giving up minor league arms, plain and simple. And the Dodgers now, they're getting that reputation as the team that milks velocity 6 ways to Sunday. And sure enough, it's always an elbow injury or a shoulder waiting to happen. And I think other teams are becoming suspect. Like, okay, yeah, the Dodgers, they develop players really well, but how long are we going to actually have any prospect before they need a major surgery? And moreover, how good are they going to be after that?
See, and it's crazy. Now you're getting another move. Mike Yastrzemski is going to the Royals. That just came in like a second.
Really?
That's what I'm saying. So it's like you're just constantly just getting but just things that are happening, everything like that. But before I know Eric has another question to ask.
I got to ask the old, cliche question. Who do you think won the deadline? Who do you think lost the deadline?
I think that that's a really good question. I do think that the Yankees had a very good deadline because their bullpen was in absolute desperation. They went ahead and got some of the best arms on the market. I mean, David Bednar, he's a two-time All-Star closer. Camilo Doval led the league in saves a couple of years ago, and Jake Bird is a strikeout machine. In terms of who lost the deadline, I didn't really like what the Tigers did getting Charlie Morton because, yeah, okay, he solves your innings problem, but he also has not pitched well this year. He's old. He's the bizarro problem of Jack Flaherty. Like Jack Flaherty, you're worried his shoulder's going to explode at any moment. Charlie Morton, you worry if his pitches are even going to be moving on a given day. And in turn, I think that the Mariners also won the deadline. They went and got Suarez back. They're actually trying. They said, okay, we need to score some runs. Let's get the guy who's hitting home runs like it's his job, like he always does. And the Padres, they've won the deadline. Look at all the moves. AJ Preller, nobody works harder than him. And I'm even willing to say the Mets kind of won. Like it's always multiple winners just because there's clearly lots of motivation to win this year. Everyone kind of sees the writing on the wall with the CBA expiring after next year. So they're literally leaving it all out on the field this trade season. So yeah, that's just how you view it. It's another, as Jeff Passan just tweeted, that was fun.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that too. Well, Josh, we appreciate you coming on this evening. It was great. How can the fans reach out to you on social media and get in touch with you and keep up with your coverage and everything like that? Because again, before we actually get to that, one question I have for you, because you cover the Knicks too. Thoughts on that curveball here? Mikal Bridges getting the extension.
This was always going to happen, guys. They always knew this was going to be the case. They traded for him knowing full well he was going to take the little hometown discount extension that Brunson did. I think there was like some little suspect ideas about it, especially after the playoffs and with Mike Brown coming in, and we don't really know what they're going to be doing with Cat anymore. But I think that this is just a case of Mike Brown saying to Leon Rose, "Hey, I like Mikal. I want to work with him. Let's keep him around."
Last one before you get to your social media, everything. Who wins? What's your World Series prediction this year, and who wins? That's putting you in your spot right there.
Ooh, that's a really good question. All right, I'm going to come out of nowhere with this one.
Man, this is what we do. That's why we want you to come back because you're going to be on your toes even more next time you come back.
Okay, all right. You know what? This is strictly my gut pick right here. I think that on the American League, we're going to have an AJ Hinch redemption arc. It's going to be the Detroit Tigers. They've got Tariq Skubal, who's going to win the Cy Young again this year. You have a lot of exciting young bats like Spencer Torkelson, who's looked great. Riley Green, Gleyber Torres has been a star in Detroit. And on the National League side, I think I'm going to go ahead and say the Cubs just because I want to give Craig Counsell his flowers.
Okay. And then, all right. I would have said the Mets there, Josh, but that's okay.
He's taking almost Mets manager Craig Counsell.
No.
Gotta keep you honest, Josh. Gotta keep you honest.
Hey, listen, I got nothing wrong with it, but again, your point was taken on the AJ Preller. We'll get to the AJ Preller stuff later. Eric and I'm going to be screaming at the top of my lungs about AJ Preller constantly trading big dogs and being what they are. But Josh, we appreciate you coming on, man. How can the fans and reach out to you and talk to you on social media? And we'd love to also get you back on during the Knicks season as well, and talk wrestling with you at some point too.
Yeah, for sure. SummerSlam's this weekend. Geesh. All right. Yeah, you can find me on social media on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at JoshBESNY. I don't post a ton, but the DMs are open. Same goes on Instagram. You can find me at JoshBNYC. I'm willing to talk. I give opinions. Just, hit me up. I don't post a lot, but the DMs are open. That's all I'll say.
Thank you, Josh, so much for joining us today. We'd love to get you back on the show in the future. This was a lot of fun. We appreciate you doing this. Enjoy SummerSlam this weekend and enjoy covering the Yankees for the rest of the year. And we'll talk to you during the Knicks season. Sound good?
Sounds great, guys. Thanks for having me today.
Josh Benjamin, ladies and gentlemen, that was a lot of fun. Great to have him on. Speedy, thank you for that. Mm-hmm. He was fantastic. Do we want to take a quick break before our next guest comes on?
You guys can do a little recap. I'm going to make sure he comes in now. And
you know what? When he comes in, we'll do the break. So that was good. Josh had a lot to say, a lot to take in. And again, when we hear the news I thought the Mets acquired somebody else. I just saw on the television. I'm not going to lie. Speedy had it on. I was like, what do they do now?
I think they're better off with that move they made.
Who? The Mets?
Yep.
What, not trading any of the the infielders?
For their center fielder that they now have.
Oh, for Mullins. We'll get into that. We'll discuss that.
I'll tell you why.
So Speedy, Eric, and I, we have our production meeting, and then of course we got into the meeting, and then Speedy and I were talking about with Robert. Speedy gave me a look. You'd rather Robert over Mullen, and then Eric was like, I'd rather Mullen over Robert too. So the two of them were on top of me about that, about the whole Mullen thing. Isn't that right, Speedy? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
no, it was it shouldn't be like that big of a difference as it is, and the Mets just needed a center fielder, and they traded less.
And I hate to say it, but who stays on the field more?
Yeah, Mullins.
Well, so who, Speedy. Speedy. If you have highlighted all of that, people. That's a beautiful catch right there. If you'd love to show that catch he made a couple of days ago, which was out of this world. I don't even know if somebody could jump that high, but he did. That was crazy. Yeah, they didn't really give up anything for Mullins. Listen, the big you know, the big thing that the Mets did was, and again, I can't be upset at them because once again, who other than Merrill Kelly moved from the run, Eric Cabrera, Sandy Alcantara, Zach Gallen, Mitch Keller, none of these guys, Jacob deGrom, none of these guys got, Nathan Eovaldi, none of these guys got traded. The biggest headline piece in the starting market that got traded was Merrill Kelly, and it took it was the 5th, the 9th, and the 12th overall prospect for the Rangers to get him. So I say to myself, okay, so you know what? I view it in this perspective, and you both can look at me however you want. I don't care.
I will.
It's fine. How I view it is my thought process with how it was done was, okay, the starting market is not ideal. How can we shore up this bullpen if you're the Mets to make it shorter for the starters? Because starters are only going 5 innings, 6, other than Peterson. And once Mania gets his full pitch count back, they'll be the only 2 guys that go more than 6. How do we shorten the game up? Well, Reed Garrett's already having a nice season. Ryan Stanek was having a good year. The problem was he was being completely overused, and that's why he couldn't throw strikes anymore. And of course, you have Edwin Diaz, who's arguably the best closer in baseball, but that's all you had. You were bringing, Dick Lovelady coming up on this, coming up here and throwing innings. It was just a constant turnstile of guys that were you didn't even hear of. They were not major league pitchers. I like the Rico Garcia guy. He's been solid for them. I like Chris Davinsky too until the other day against the Padres when Machado took him deep. But how I view this is David Stern just basically say, listen, I'm not overpaying. I'm not trading my farm for a guy in a Zach Gallen who has a 5.5 ERA this year, and the hit rate on his, and Speedy loves this with the analytics, the hit rate on his pitches this year is up like 30%. It's insane how much higher it is than it's normally been. And he also has been giving up a lot of home runs this year, more than the norm. That's why the Mets are saying, what were the Marlins asking for Sandy Alcantara or Edward Cabrera? Now, the Mets have made trades with the Marlins in the past. I don't think it has anything to do with interdivision. I think it was just, let's see how he finishes the year, Alcantara, and this is something we could discuss in the offseason. I don't feel so comfortable giving up a Sproat or a McLean or somebody like that. And that's the thing, too, is that the Mets have Nolan McLean, one of their top prospects. He's ready to pitch on the major league team. Sproat's in AAA pitching really well now, too. He's getting close to ready to pitch. And also what you did was with the Mets is you took, and Josh said what he said. The only thing I disagreed with him on was the Mets didn't have the player. No, the Mets have the players to trade for the starters. They just didn't want to do it because they didn't want to look, the White Sox asked for Jonah Tong today for Luis Robert Jr. Are you out of your mind? The Mets offered Luis Angel Acuna and Ryan Clifford, which I even think that's an overpay for Robert Jr. And the White Sox still said no. And now the White Sox are going to give him the $26 million player option. And this is why Jerry Reinsdorf's a jackass. Excuse my French. He also,
then they'll trade him.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention Jerry Reinsdorf also completely messed up the Michael Jordan-led Chicago Bulls teams. What does that tell you? But in hindsight, I think what the Mets did today, what the Mets did as a whole was, and don't forget the Mets got 2 all-star closers in Gregory Soto and Ryan Helsley, who won Closer of the Year last year, and put that in the bullpen. And then you add Trevor Rogers into that, into the pen as well. And I also think what you are looking at in a perspective of Speedy, bringing up analytics again, arm torque. Listen to this. This is good. You're getting a different vision of variety from the pitchers that you're getting. You're going from a weird lollipop throwing motion in Gregory Soto to a sidearm motion in Rogers to a 99, 100 mile per hour in Helsley to let me throw a 91 mile per hour slider in Diaz. So you're getting the different motions, I think, was the thought process too, in how the bullpen can be portrayed and be put out there. The truth is, the Mets are going to go with 3, maybe 4 guys in their rotation for the postseason.
Speaking of analytics, we do have our second guest in now.
All right. Do we want to go to him now? Want to take a quick break?
Let's take a quick break.
Want to take a quick break? We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to be talking. Not, he is a big analytic guy. That's also why, personally, that's why Speedy also, was able to find him.
He's a good personality too. You'll like him.
Dan, how do you say?
Zimborski.
Dan, I was going to say that too. He works for Fangraphs. Senior writer Dan Zimborski is going to join us when we come back. All trade deadline. All action. 631-672-3108 is also the number to call. You could call in. Did your team do enough? We'll be right back.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hey, it's Chaz from Championship Footballs. And if you heard my cries for help, you know we lost our lease. Thanks so much for your support so far. But we've got to get all of these footballs out of here by the 31st. And we're going to make it worth your while. If you're a Chiefs fan, a Bulldogs fan, a Michigan Wolverines fan, write on the website an instant promo code for all 4 of those footballs. That's right, the Chiefs have 2 of them. Right on the website, a $20 discount, and it's even better if you're a Cowboys fan, a Tulane fan. Boom. Penn State, Buccaneers, or Baylor, it's 2 for 1. Buy one, get your second one shipped in the same box for free. It really is perfect if you hang around with any Cowboys, Tulane, Nittany Lions, or Baylor fans. So thanks in advance for helping out, because we don't want to have to pay to move these things. ChampionshipFootballs.com, the coolest present that'll open that day, guaranteed.
Sports Radio Network.
Game on! Game on!
We're back. You're listening to Game On with Josh Silverberg and Eric Bowe.
Time. Woo! We're clapping. We're happy. We made it.
Wow.
And it's great. Speedy, you coming in too?
I am. Bring our guest in first.
There you go. We have for us Fangraphs senior writer Dan Zimborski. He is joining us right now. Dan, how you doing? Thanks for joining us this evening. Everything okay?
I'm tired. How are you guys doing?
We're exhausted because I thought the trade deadline was last night because the Mets decided, hey, let's just throw all these moves into the night yesterday and everything like that. But we're glad you're in to join us and everything from Fangraphs and everything, of course. Analytics. We love analytics here. We know that Mr. Speedy Petey himself is the king of analytics on this network. We know that. But Dan, we're going to get into the locals first with us here in New York. We'll start. We did the Yankees first with our first guest, with Josh. We'll start with the Mets now. Be nice. Be kind, Dan. I thought this was good. What did you think of the Mets trade deadline? Because to me, I thought it was fabulous. I cannot be upset at them for not getting a starter because other than Merrill Kelly, who it was an overtrade for him with Texas, the Mets did everything that you could possibly ask for and probably more.
Yeah, I mean, I complain about the Mets a lot in the course of my lifetime, but I think they did fine here. They didn't give up anything that was irreplaceable that you said that would come back and haunt them, and they got some real improvements there. I think they did more than a lot of teams in their position did, and they gave up less. So I can't complain about the Mets.
Would you say it's so funny because when we had the break, we were having a discussion, because it was discussed on another show yesterday. Ryan Helsley and Johan Duran. Obviously, it was just funny because the Mets get Rogers, right? They get Taylor Rogers yesterday. Then the Phillies, 45 minutes later, say we're going to get Duran because let's call it like it is, Dan. The Phillies have been looking for a closer since Brad Lidge has been there. And then the Mets an hour and change later say, no. We're going to go get Ryan Helsley, and we're going to give up less to get Helsley than you gave up to get Duran. It was almost like a tit for tat. Not to mention the Mets also got Gregory Soto a week ago. Who would you think in the Duran deal versus the Helsley deal do you think did better, the Mets or the Phillies? Because let's call it like it is. And this is not me I can't stand the Phillies. I'll say that. But the Mets got the closer of the year last year and didn't really give up that much, while the Phillies gave up one of their top starting in April yesterday to get Duran. And also, Duran's comments were interesting yesterday, saying that if he gets traded, he'd be heartbroken.
Yeah, I kind of like from the Mets point of view, I like what they gave up. I think it was a smaller package. I think Duran, he's not the same guy he was a couple years ago. I think if this was a couple years ago, you get him for a longer period of time, all of a sudden you're saying, okay, we'll throw in some better prospects. But I love Helsley. I'm not really heartbroken by anyone that went for him. I think Rogers is my favorite because I was a side armor in Little League. I was a side armor with a crappy fastball. Now, obviously, he does a lot better with his crappy fastball than I did.
4 walks in 50 innings, Dan. The analytics, right? 4 walks in 50 innings this year.
Yeah, I think I had a couple games in high school where I walked 4 guys in an inning. So, yeah, that my career did not get very far. It ended in my teenage years. But I'm a sucker for side armors because I grew up watching Todd Froworth. I love Chad Bradford, all these guys. So
was one of my favorite.
That was the first one I remember. Yeah.
Yep, Chad Bradford was one of my favorite pitchers growing up, and it's interesting, Dan, that you say that because everybody was so upset with what the Mets gave up for Rogers yesterday, and then I took a step back and I was because the Mets were getting hammered against the Padres yesterday as they always do in San Diego, so it was like a whatever. But my initial reaction was, well, now hold on. Let's think about this. The Mets have the 10th or 11th farm system in baseball at the moment. They didn't give up any of their time. And also, we didn't hear anything about Rogers even being rumored. That's what David Serge does. He doesn't leak anything. My thought process was, okay, you gave up Jose Butto, who's not been great the last few weeks, and he had no more options. He could have been a DFA guy at any point. Blade Tidwell, people are saying, Dan, 4th or 5th starter at best is his ceiling. Maybe a bullpen arm, and the Mets gave him opportunities this year, and he didn't do well with them. And then you also had guys like Sproat and Tong and McLean jump him in the rankings. The one guy I think everybody was complaining about, Dan, was the Drew Gilbert one. But I think with Carson Benj and what he's done after drafting him last year and already hitting 330 in AA, that's why I think they were able to. That's why I think they were okay with trading Gilbert because Benj jumped him, and he also have Jet Williams. Where was Gilbert going to play, number one? And number two, he's 25 doing this in AAA, but he also has so many injury-prone history with it. I didn't see a problem with what they gave up for a guy in Rogers. I understand he's a rental, but look at the way the motion is, and I was saying this before, the different looks you're now going to get. You're going to get a Gregory Soto who comes in, who will just, kind of not a side armor, but with the lefty, he throws it hard, 99, and the way his torque moves. You get a Rogers who sidearms it. Then you get a Helsley who throws it at 100, and then you get Diaz with a 91 mile per hour slider. You're getting so many different looks now. I didn't see a problem with what the Mets gave up for Rogers. I don't know why people were so upset about giving up Gilbert when Benj and Williams are that's your future right there.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Mets prospect list, if you listed their top 6 or 7 guys, maybe you put Tidwell at the bottom of that, they still have all of them. They kept their top 3 starters.
They kept all their infielders, Dan. They kept all the infielders.
Yeah, they kept Jacob Reimer, who's been super interesting this year. Jet Williams has had a major comeback this year after a lot of setbacks, let's just say, in 2024. And I think what it comes down to is they might have given up one of those guys if you had someone who could really change things. If Garrett Crochet had somehow been available at the trade deadline, or if the Tigers were struggling this year, and you're actually talking about Skubal being available, those are the guys you trade up those prospects for. But the Mets gave up their 2nd and 3rd tier prospects for short-term gain to win the World Series. That's a big deal, and depth is important. There are no more chances
I was gonna say, and they got Mullins for next to nothing. They got, the fact that Dan, the White Sox were asking for Jonah Tong in a deal for Luis Robert Jr. is
the White Sox.
It's comedic because, and between me and you, the fact that the Mets were even willing to offer Luis Angel Acuna and Ryan Clifford, which would have been a massive overpay for Robert Jr., and the White Sox still said no, is crazy.
The White Sox.
I don't understand. Reinsdorf just doesn't have a clue. And now the report is, Dan, they're going to give him the $26 million player option and keep him around. But for what?
The White Sox have always had this, at least the last few years, this kind of diluted idea of how much value Luis Robert had around the league. No one around the league thinks that he's worth anywhere near what the White Sox want from him, and they have no idea. They seem to think he's the centerpiece of the franchise, which he isn't. I mean, you could make that case, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, but even his comeback season this year is not that exciting. I don't know what the White Sox do. They are the worst run team in baseball right now, and I say a lot of mean things about the Rockies, but there's no team that's worse run than the White Sox.
So you think, before Eric goes, you think getting Mullins over Robert Jr. was the right move for the Mets?
Yeah, Robert has a higher price tag by a lot, and there's more of a commitment with him if you can have to decide what to do. Mullins, pure rental. You stick him out there. He is what he is. There's no surprises with him. He's fine. He's not gonna, single-handedly carry the team, but he's fine.
No,
That's good
enough.
enough.
He doesn't have to. I mean, he's great defense. I mean, he made that unbelievable catch the other day. But the big thing is, I think he's been hitting over. I think he's hitting 3-something the last 2 weeks. So it's almost like, hey, we're hearing our name in trade rumors. Let me pick up my game a little bit and try to get out of here so I can go to a better spot. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like with. But what I've read about Mullins is what a great clubhouse leader he is as well. And that is something I think David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza take heart in. It's Robert Jr. People were wondering, was he dogging it because of the White Sox issue? Whereas Mullins, he tries his best all the time, and I think that's the difference in the two of them, in the two players. It's the personality of the two players. I think that's what is the difference.
It's hard to not dog it playing for the White Sox. I mean, everyone's had an experience in their life when they work for a company that was really poorly run.
Very true. Now,
I'm probably talking a little out of school here, but when I was with ESPN in 2017, when there was a change in the MLB editor, they kind of forgot I existed for a month, and my morale was really low during that time.
Go for it, Eric.
which is the worst when that happens. I've been there. I get that. Now, speaking of morale, if you're the Blue Jays getting Shane Bieber, Ty France, Louis Varland, do you think they did enough to continue on this pace that they're on? Right? They kind of seem to be the team that, as everyone is going through the dog days of summer, faltering, the Blue Jays seem to stay hot.
I think with the Jays, I think the problem is that the perfect players for them weren't out there. And I think that was a theme that we saw a lot this trade deadline, because let's be honest, 90% of the guys who were traded are relievers. This was the year to rebuild your bullpen. This wasn't the year, unless you were the Mariners, to get those impact bats, to get that extra outfield hitter. So I think the Blue Jays were kind of constrained there. I do like picking up Bieber. I think this is a solid team. You look at some of the outfield, obviously, they could have helped the Jays. I mean, you could pretty much put Mullins in left for a few months and have a really good defensive outfield, but does it really change the storyline for the Jays at all? And I would say no to that. I don't think it was an amazing deadline for them. I do like Bieber. I think they did need to have that extra arm. But I think it was fine. I use that word a lot, but it was fine.
But it makes sense. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's fine.
Really, just really quick, Dan, before we get to our next question, there is breaking news. Terry McLaurin has asked to be traded out of Washington. So that we will discuss that a little bit later. But I wanted to get into your thoughts with the starting pitching market. Other than Merrill Kelly, it felt like with Zach Gallen, with Sandy Alcantara, Edward Cabrera, Mitch Keller, on and on and on, nobody got moved. Nobody got moved. And then the one guy did get moved, and Kelly, it was an overpay, right? The Rangers traded their 5th, 9th, and 12th best prospects. Do you think this is why so many bullpen arms were moved? Because teams were like, no, we're not paying this for X, Y, and Z because Zach Allen's hit rate this year against his fastball is up like 20%. We're not going to trade our top prospects for a guy who's struggling this year, and who knows how much time we have to fix him before the postseason starts. Do we just maybe go to the bullpen route and just shorten the games and go with what we have best? Because let's go like it is. Teams like the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, even the Padres to a certain extent, the Cubs. These teams needed starters, and none of them got, even Houston, none of them got them. Like, nobody got anything. So do you think the route was just, all right, clearly nobody's trading the starters this year. Let's just go the route of we'll try to shorten the game with the bullpen arms. We'll make our hay that way and hope for the best. Because that's why I said I can't be upset about the Mets not getting an arm because nobody got a starter in anything. The Phillies, none of them. Nobody got a starting pitcher.
I think the fundamental problem for the starter trades is a lot of the guys that were available weren't actually free agents at the end of the year. So there's just less urgency for those teams. So like the Marlins didn't have to trade Sandy Alcantara or Edward Cabrera. Now they probably don't really have to anyway, but they really didn't have to right now. So they could take that position like with Crochet last year, that they don't have to trade him. I am surprised that the Diamondbacks didn't at the last minute blink and just take whatever they could for Zach Gallen. I still think they might have gotten something better than a compensation pick from a qualifying offer. But they didn't, and he's going to just walk at the end of the year. I think it's just there were a lot more attainable reliever trades than there were starter trades. That's just what it comes down to it, because a lot of the teams that were selling this year have already sold off most of their guys. Garrett Crochet, if he hadn't been traded last offseason, he probably would have been traded today. But there's just not a lot of guys who really are going to pitch 2 months and walk that you really want enough to pay a high price for. And that was a high price for Merrill Kelly.
Yeah, because my initial thought, now Speedy has a question, but my initial thought was, okay, what would it take because out of all the guys that were available, I thought Joe Ryan was the best one. I'm like, what would it take for a Joe Ryan? Then I saw what Merrill Kelly got to. I go, oh God, that was never good. I saw what Mason Miller got. And I said, wow, if Mason Miller's getting the number 3 overall prospect in baseball, what do you think for Joe Ryan? And this is, again, AJ Preller screwing up the market because this is what he does. He trades all of his top prospects for Major League Baseball players, and they don't win anything. This is what AJ Preller does.
Yeah, the Joe Ryan return would have been pretty high, considering if that's what 2 months of Merrill Kelly gets, 2 years and 2 months of Joe Ryan, who I think I'd actually feel more comfortable with than Merrill Kelly, just straight up. That would have been a brutal trade.
So I want to ask that because I know you're an Orioles guy. Obviously, a down year for them this year too. They're kind of being in the sellers markets. Mullins to the Mets. O'Hearn goes to the Padres.
The Padres again. Yeah. And the Padres are all over.
Again, the pitching has not been there. Their prospect development's kind of iffy. Like, what are your thoughts to what's happened with them? Just free falling after it seemed like they were one of the best young teams.
Well, they took a really weird gamble last year. Now, the offense has struggled a lot this season, and I think that's kind of forgivable for the Orioles because it looked like they were going to have a really good offense this year, but they've gotten a lot of disappointments. But what you can't really excuse is this lackadaisical attitude they had towards the pitching staff last winter. Corbin Burns was walking at the end of the year. They didn't sign him, and the plan B was emoji shrug. They got Charlie Morton and Sagana. This was not really the sign of a team that aggressively needed to fix their pitching staff. And when a couple guys got injured, when Kyle Bradish wasn't coming back quickly, when Grayson Rodriguez was injured, and suddenly the guy in his early 40s pitched like someone who was in his early 40s, Charlie Morton, the Orioles had no plan B after that. The pitching was never going to be enough to make them a dangerous team this year, and they got to do better this offseason.
It's also a matter of, Dan, it's, and I actually like the Orioles, but the thing is, they got new ownership, and all they said was they were going to spend money, and all of a sudden, and even goes back. I know he's not having a great year either, but Santander, another one, and they replaced him with Tyler O'Neill. that's like another one that I'm just like, I was shaking my head. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, do you really think you're getting the replacement that you're getting? Because O'Neill was playing in Fenway last year compared to Baltimore. It's very different with that. It just didn't make any sense to me. I wanted to get your. I'm glad we brought it up. You clearly could tell in the sense that with AJ Preller and I have a problem. I think everybody is always like how aggressive and it's wonderful and it's great, but I'm always standing there going, okay, so he traded X, Y, and Z in his farm system, and he gets this guy back, but they don't ever win anything, and then he winds up trading these guys 2 years later. Like, I think as great as Mason Miller is, you're trading the number 3, not in the Padres organization, Dan, in Major League Baseball. And I know prospects are just paper, or the saying Eric said before,
prospects are cool, parades are cooler.
Exactly. I'm trying to wrap my head around the situation where what makes AJ Preller sit down and say, I really want Mason Miller, but let me trade the number 3 overall prospect in Major League Baseball to go this route and say, yep, we're going to do this today, and this is going to make it better. What Preller does this is what he does. He does this all the time, Dan, and nothing ever comes about it. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Look at Mackenzie Gore. Look at James Woods. Look at these guys now. I don't understand where, we love him. He's so aggressive. I would if the Mets traded Jonah Tong for Mason Miller, I'd be having a conniption and an aneurysm in the studio right now. I don't understand the thought process.
My joke with AJ Preller is always that he needs a fidget spinner. That his fidget spinner is making trades. He gets a little anxiety. All of a sudden, there's a massive 3-way trade or something. He's been doing that for years. I think back to one of his early trades, that Matt Kemp trade, which I was pretty brutal on, and I had Padres fans mad at me for like 2 years about that trade.
That's all right. They're singing songs during the postseason before the Phillies series, and then they lose, so they're idiots. So anyway, go on.
I think what really concerns, I think it's that the Padres don't really look at their long-term positioning anywhere. They don't really fill their long-term needs. It's always about what happens the next 3 months, and past that, that's a problem for future AJ to worry about. Because like you look at their team, and maybe there's a scenario in which they need to trade these prospects, but for something else that they need a lot more the next few years. Dylan Cease is going to be a free agent. Michael King's only here on a mutual option. They're going to have to figure out how to fill that rotation. They're not putting Mason Miller into the rotation. Now they have one less really key component to get a starter who could go in the rotation.
Oh no, Dan, you didn't hear the rumor? There's thoughts that they're going to try to make him a starter next year, Mason Miller.
Oh, they really are. I did not hear that at all.
Oh, yep, yes, sir. And you know what that's going to do? It's going to blow up in their face because he's one of the best closers in baseball. Hey, let's take him out of that role and make him a starter.
Yeah, he does have an injury history, but yeah. I guess God bless. I don't know. I know that the Padres, they're kind of in a tricky situation because the way, they had one of their owners pass away. They had all their money from the cable deal fall through, and that's made things awkward for them. But I don't think Preller has necessarily improved that, so to speak. I don't know. I love watching Mason Miller. I loved using him in MLB The Show before all the good cards came out.
Yeah,
but that's a lot.
He ain't worth the number 3 overall prospect in baseball. No,
I think that if scenario had been different, he could have also traded Tatis for Shields if the positions had been reversed.
Yeah, possible. Could have happened. What were you going to ask, Eric?
So obviously a lot of smaller names, not really those bigger names that you would expect. Obviously Suarez, traded to the Mariners and whatnot. Were there any trades that you saw under the radar or whatever that you're like, that's a move, that's a smart move right there? No one's going to talk about that, but that's going to take them to the next level. Was there anything you saw that really made you?
I really liked the Cardinals getting Blaze Jordan for Steven Matz. No one a year ago in St. Louis would have turned down a plate of toasted ravioli for Steven Matz. Now they get someone who is not going to be a star, but he's interesting. He might actually be a legitimate starting first baseman for a few years. Matz is a guy who has massive platoon splits. It's much harder to use a reliever like that than it used to be, since you can't do one-out guys anymore. No more loogies in baseball. I'm just underwhelmed by Steven Matz, and I think that getting an actual prospect who could literally at least be a role player next year is a really nice pickup for Matz.
I'm trying to wonder. I feel like it has to be, Dan, because of the potential. Obviously, we all know what's going to happen. The labor disagreement that's going to happen in 2027.
Oh no, yeah,
yeah. I mean, listen,
that's the fun. It was like, because that's the hard thing about being a baseball writer, because sometimes your job doesn't exist. Like, the first half of 2020, and then the lockout. You're like, oh, do I cover something that's not a thing? That doesn't sound good for my future employment.
Oh no! Yeah, I was gonna say, what you could do is you get up early in the morning and go watch like the Korean Baseball League or the Japanese Baseball League, and go watch that. You could cover that via remote.
We did actually do some of that year during during COVID. Ben Clemens and I on Fangraphs, we were doing Twitch streams where we were doing live commentary of games of MLB The Show and just doing color like we were analysts. It was the weirdest thing, and people came, and that was the even honor.
I remember, because I'm a teacher, I remember teaching remote and getting up early, and I'm like, what do I do now? My class doesn't start for another half hour, 45 minutes. Oh my god, there's a Korean baseball game on right now. This is amazing. I'm gonna watch this, and I'm like, what am I watching? But it was fun because it was something. But the thought I'm trying to, the point I'm getting at here is, do you think that's why a lot of these teams went all in, and they're going to go all in next year because of the labor? Because, Dan, I don't think there's ever going to be a salary cap in baseball. I think there might be a floor. I don't think there's ever going to be a salary cap. Bryce Harper made it known to the other day to Mr. Rob Manfred. Do you think that's why? Because teams are starting to get a vibe of, okay, this year and next year we have to go all in. Because there's going to be a lockout in 2027, so we have the 2 years. We need to do this now, and that's why more actually maybe happened this year than norm.
I'm not sure that's a big factor right now. I think it'll be a larger factor kind of the second half of next season. I think next season's trade deadline will probably have a lot of really, really short-term moves, depending on what the vibes are around the league at that point. I don't think that's quite where they are now, but then again, when you talk to people in front offices, one of the things you'll at least get them to comment on, even off the record, is anything to do with labor disputes or that situation. They don't want to talk to you about that for any reason, or at least they don't want to talk to me about that for any reason. So I'm not really sure that plays into it, but it very obviously could. And again, as we get into next year, but KBO was fun. I actually did a few call-ins for ESPN when they were broadcasting some of the KBO games, and I was on with my camera at 3 a.m. And I don't make that much sense at 3 a.m, so that was kind of surreal.
There's some teams that I don't think made sense this trade deadline as well.
There's a few of them.
Just a few, right? Dan, who's your teams that are, we don't want to call them losers, but call them you should have done more? Any team stick out to you that way? Could it be a Houston? Could it be the Tigers, for instance? Is there any team that you think should have or could have done more to really get them past that hump come playoff time?
It's funny. My feelings changed very rapidly because there were like 20 moves made at like 5:50 today. I ran to the bathroom for a few minutes and I came back and half the league had been traded. I had been a little, before the relief trades, I had been a little underwhelmed by the Yankees, but they acquired half a bullpen in the last few hours, so I have less complaints about them. I mean, I have more complaints because I'm an Orioles fan, but that's not really about the deadline. I'm not really sure what the Royals were doing. They just kind of decided to just hang around, like, oh, we'll pick up Mike Yastrzemski. It doesn't really do anything, and we're not going to trade anyone because that might involve doing something. They had a very Rockies trade deadline because the Rockies used to be the team that used to not do anything. They just would say, no, we're just gonna keep everyone and just let them walk in free agency. John Gray, we don't need to trade him. We don't need to trade Carlos Gonzalez. We don't need to do anything. And that's what the Royals kind of did. But I don't know what the Royals are thinking because they're in this weird position where they're not a really realistic contender this year. I mean, they're still technically only 3 games back for a wild card, but it's not a good team. They have no offense whatsoever, as much as I like their pitching. And they didn't really improve where they stood this year. They didn't do anything down the road. And it just feels like meh.
Dan, to me, so you mentioned the Royals. Who were your winners and who were your losers with this deadline?
I think that the Giants, in a way, were losers. I think that they didn't really commit to retooling as much. I think they still think they can kind of just trade around the edges and come back next year. And they've been trying to do that for a while. It just hasn't worked, and I don't think it's going to work. I mentioned Arizona simply because they didn't trade Zach Gallen. They could have gotten something better. I'm a little disappointed by the Cubs. I know we talked about that there just weren't the starting pitchers to get, but that was a team that really needed someone better than Mike Soroka. If anyone should have overpaid for a pitcher, I think it was the Cubs more than almost any team in baseball, simply because of their divisional race, because of what their need was. And I'm also, let me think. Let's see.
Who are your winners, you think? Who are your winners?
I love what the Mariners did. They went for it. They saw the weaknesses in their lineup, and they got pretty much the best options available. And they didn't really give anyone up that'll cripple their team. I mean, Tyler Locklear is probably fine, but I don't think they're going to look back in 10 years and think, oh, dear God, it changed the course of our franchise's history when Tyler Locklear went to the Diamondbacks. He's going to be a good first baseman for a few years, like Christian Walker before him. But, I mean, the Mariners got Suarez. They got Josh Naylor. That is a really big, just improvement for them. So I am super excited with what they did. I think that sometimes Dipoto trades for the sake of trading, but these were good trades.
Dan, we appreciate you coming on with this. First up, before we let you go, we have 2 things. One, who is your World Series prediction and why? And then Eric will explain to you the next thing before we get to your social media platforms.
I am going to say, do I have to say the World Series winner too?
If you want to.
Okay. Well, I won't pick it out. I'm gonna say the Tigers over the Dodgers.
Always going with the Mets.
2 for 2 Tigers.
Tigers, yeah.
Nice.
I like what the Mets have done, but I never want to invest my heart in the Mets and what they're going to do.
Dan.
That's a dangerous game to play.
Dan, this has been good so far. You're ruining it.
A buddy of mine, a good friend, one of my closest friends in the analytics community, a fellow named Chris Dial, he has a Mets tattoo on his neck. And sometimes he says some days he looks at it and just thinks, oh God, because he got it during the Wilpon era.
Yeah.
He looked at the Wilpon era Mets and said, you know what? I love Fred Wilpon and Jeff Wilpon, and I need to have their team's logo on my neck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's to get that in that area too, no less. But Eric is the next point before we let you run.
And we have a fun thing that I like to think is, at least is fun, that we do on the show. It's called "You Better Than That." So this is the part of the segment where something's really driving you up a wall. You're really upset. You really just got to get off your chest, and you basically get to rant about it. At the very end, you get to say, "Come on," to whoever it was. You're better than that. Think you could do one for us tonight?
Yeah, it's kind of a stupid one though. Does it have to be baseball related?
Nope.
Okay, okay. The cars I've had for 20 years, the cars I've always loved owning were Mazdas. I love Mazdas. I had a Mazda 6, I have a Mazda 3 Turbo. Mazda showed off the new Mazda CX-50, or the new Mazda CX-5, excuse me. And they kind of have a minimalist thing where it's still an analog experience. They got rid of all the buttons on the climate control, the infotainment, because Mazdas have buttons, physical buttons that you push. I drove around someone's VW Golf, the new one, the Golf R, for a few days, and that thing, everything was touch capacitive. You breathed wrong, the heater would turn on in the car because that's how sensitive this stupid thing was. I don't want to have to go into 5 damn menus to change the temperature in my car. So I think about when I'm eventually going to get a new car, and I think if all Mazdas are like that with no buttons and all touch capacitive touch on the things, I'm going to say, Mazda, you're better than that.
There you go.
All right.
Dan, before we let you go, how can the fans reach out to you on social media?
You can find me at D Zymborski, SCYMBORSKI. The Google person will fix it for you if you get that wrong. That's on Twitter. That's on Blue Sky. You can find me at Fangraphs at all times, and you can find me on different radio stations talking about things if my voice holds up, because I have a pretty good head cold, and I still have a lot more of this to do for the next day.
No, Dan, we hope you feel better, and we appreciate you coming on. Hopefully you'll come back on with us in the future. We'd love to get you back on again. This was a lot of fun. This was fabulous. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Get some rest, and we'll talk to you soon down the road. We'll get you back on before the playoffs, all right?
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Dan Zymborski, ladies and gentlemen, from Fangraphs. How about that, huh, Speedy?
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
Oh yeah, he's a analytic guy, but always a great personality.
Had a head cold, and he still came on.
Yes,
that was a lot of fun. So, do we want to do a break, and then we come back, and the three of us we're not going to give our thoughts. So, you want to take a break? I don't have a baseball related topic after, but I did see some news. It's fascinating. So we'll take a break and we'll come back.
Oh, was it yeah, you know what? We'll find out after the break.
Yeah.
About the thing, right?
Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll find out about that. We'll be right back. Game on here with our trade deadline special on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hey, it's Chaz from Championship Footballs. And if you heard my cries for help, you know we lost our lease. Thanks so much for your support so far, but we've got to get all of these footballs out of here by the 31st, and we're going to make it worth your while. If you're a Chiefs fan, a Bulldogs fan, a Michigan Wolverines fan, right on the website an instant promo code for all 4 of those footballs. That's right, the Chiefs have 2 of them. Right on the website, a $20 discount, and it's even better if you're a Cowboys fan, a Tulane fan. Boom. Penn State, Buccaneers, or Baylor, it's 2 for 1. Buy one, get your second one shipped in the same box for free. It really is perfect if you hang around with any Cowboys, Tulane, Nittany Lions, or Baylor fans. So thanks in advance for helping out, because we don't want to have to pay to move these things. ChampionshipFootballs.com, the coolest present that'll open that day guaranteed.
Sports Radio Network.
Game on! Game on!
We're back. You're listening to Game On with Josh Silverberg and Eric Bowe.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our trade deadline special. I want to thank, of course, Dan Zymborski, Brian, both for coming on tonight. They were fabulous. Thank you so much. Of course, with Eric Bowe, I'm, of course, Josh Silverberg. On the board, Mr. Speedy Petey. Doing his thing, right, Speedy?
You know it.
Love it. really quickly, yes, we're going to get back to the baseball in a minute. This is our trade deadline special. But, of course, if you didn't hear the news, Terry McLaurin has asked out of the Washington Commanders. Bet Online has come out with the favorites. Hold on a second. Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll do top 5. You ready? Are you ready? We'll start from lowest to highest. Lowest odds again for top 5 to the highest odds together. You ready? Speedy, you good with this? This is big.
I'll
Speedy.
find out.
At number 5, the low at plus 700, Pittsburgh Steelers. At 4, plus 600, the Las Vegas Raiders. At 3, plus 500, the Los Angeles Chargers. At 2, at plus 400, the New England Patriots. And at number 1, at plus 300, the New York Jets. And the thought process is because McLaurin was teammates with who, Speedy, on the Jets offense?
Justin Fields.
And
Well, I guess 1 year Garrett Wilson.
that's right. That's where it comes, and that's why. They feel the Jets have the draft capital, and they have. It seems like they're kind of giving the offense to Braylon Allen. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, that would be wonderful.
They're just wishful thinking for your Wisconsin guy.
You know what? They're pushing out a lot. I mean, and again, this is not a football episode. We'll get into all that again next week. But I mean, you're seeing, if you've seen all the training camp stuff coming out, it's literally Aaron Glenn's hands are all over this team right now. All you had to do was hear the Will McDonald comment. When it was Rich Cimini, I think somebody asked him about Will McDonald. You're seeing the spin move and everything like that. You know, what's been the change about why Will is getting more of an edge? And Aaron Glenn was like, it's coaching. And then he said, did you see him do it last year? And they were like, no. Okay. It's coaching.
I don't know. I'm still very skeptical about McLaurin leaving there, right?
We'll see. I mean, listen, I hope he does it. I hope he does stay.
Daniels to McLaurin last year was such a dynamic duo for that offense itself. It's
all about
I can't
this.
see
See
it.
this?
It is.
It's all about this. And let me tell you something. Football players are putting their lives on the line. One bad hit, and your career is shot. You want me to I'll give you a prime example. Speedy, you remember this one. You remember Leon Washington?
Yes.
Leon Washington, he was going to hold out. He decided not to. He played that year on a contract that was up. What did he do the third game of the year? He tore his Achilles, was never the same player again. That's all it takes. One bad pivot, one bad movement, one bad lateral, tear something, it's done. So I hope he stays in Washington. I do. I'd love to see him with the Jets, though. And the people are going to say, oh, it's such a Jet move. They're going to. Well, not really, because McLaurin's young. And he also has a connection with Fields and Wilson. That's the difference. They're not. If it was like a Tyreek Hill or something like that, the Jets aren't doing that.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's the reason why McLaurin is because he has a connection with Fields and Wilson.
Well,
that's why people
he just had
are
a resurgence, though. Did he not with Jaden Daniels as quarterback last year?
Of course,
You know,
trust me.
everyone said,
He was
he's getting
fabulous
old,
on
he's doing
he
this.
was fabulous on my fantasy team last year. He was great.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, Eric? He was great.
Don't recall.
Did you trade him in that deal?
Nope. Don't think it was me. Wasn't me.
You sure?
Nope.
No, it was not. Oh my God, who was it?
Yep.
Oh
Thank
God,
you.
what was that trade again? I traded McLaurin trade for Najee Harris. That was the deal, straight up. Yes, sir.
Still shaking my head. on that one.
Bunkins.
But no, I mean, listen, if you're Terry
Sweetie's
McLaurin,
looking at
you
this like,
just-
can I join this league?
No, I just remember your guys' trade. Eric got Bucky Irving, and then you got the other 3 players. And
Oh yeah, that was like the thought. I thought Austin Eckler, and Eckler did great for me the first 2 games. Then he got hurt the 3rd game after I had him.
Bucky
Listen,
Irving was almost a championship.
No. In the end, it was funny. Eric gave me a choice. It was between Breece Hall and Josh Jacobs, and I chose Hall over Jacobs.
you got Puka Nakua, right?
I did get Nakua.
Yeah.
I did get Nakua, but can you imagine if I got Josh Jacobs too in that deal?
Oh, yeah.
I chose Breece Hall. I went with the guy with the more
Thank
flair. The flair.
Yeah.
Eric gave me the choice. I said, you want
Yeah,
Jacobs
let
or
me-
Hall?
let me dangle Breece Hall in front of the Jets fan here. Just saying.
But in the end, who won the whole thing, though?
I don't recall.
Yeah.
Who missed the playoffs? I don't recall that either.
And then it's so funny. Really quickly, we'll get back to the baseball in a minute. But it was just, and I'm again, it is funny because it was 2 years ago. Eric needed in his league. He needed an extra person. Which by the way, we're up in that entry fee this year, 1,000%. Oh, that's.
We'll talk to the league manager.
Oh
We'll see.
yeah.
We'll see.
Get Brian on. You know what I mean? Get him. Hey, listen.
He should be listening, but
He should be listening. Let's get him on. We'll get him on. So Eric asked me, he goes, hey, you want to join this league? We need somebody. It was like last minute. It's like the night before the draft. Like, you want to do it? I was like, yeah, God, I haven't done fantasy football in like 10 years. I don't know.
Let's just say Josh is the AJ Preller of the league.
So, hey, listen, but you want to know what the difference is? I actually win something. And so I go, all right, fine, I'll join the league, whatever. First year, I get to the championship. First year. I lose in the finals. All right, fine, whatever. It happens. And then the second year, I just cruised. Although I almost got screwed. I was flipped at Brian. You remember that last week of the season? Because it's a 2-week championship league, and the final week is week 17, and none of my guys from... You know who carried me, Speedy, to that championship? The great running back who got me 19 points. Michael Carter for the Arizona Cardinals.
As much as I want to keep going on about Josh's
fantastic. I had to drop Breece Hall because I knew he wasn't playing. Not Breece Hall. I had to drop who clinched it right? Nakua. I had to drop Puka Nakua because they said he was out. He wasn't playing. So I was like, oh God. Now I'm gonna lose. And I pick up Michael Carter.
So again, as much as I love hearing about the trades and fantasy sports you made, today
Eric's
was the real trade deadline.
Eric's never going to trade with me in fantasy football again.
No, I probably send you at least like
a
request next year.
Listen, I threw in Mark Andrews for you in that deal.
I appreciate that.
I did. And I got that trade wound up helping you more than me.
It was a good deal for us.
The only guy I got out of that deal was Puka Nakua. You got Andrews and Bucky Irving was full. I remember I told Speedy that deal, and Speedy was like, "Oh, out of all the things Speedy thinks of, you threw in Bucky and Irving in that deal. Oh, I don't know." And I'm like,
now he's
really?
projected first round pick.
I'm like, really? That's Breece Hall is definitely not.
So Josh, so obviously I was the loser in that trade. You were the winner in that. But
winners and losers today.
Some baseball winners and losers.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And Speedy, we'll get your take on this too, because I know you're not going to speak again until Monday. You'll recap it with Job in the Mouth. It's interesting. I have a few winners in this deadline. Oh, he threw in baseball music. Speedy's throwing a curveball to me. All right, was that a ghost forkball? All right. Never not going to hit that. Yeah, I know. It's actually funny. Really quickly, Ryan Helsley, they actually asked Helsley in an interview, what's one pitch you like to learn? You know what he said?
I'm going to guess it's a fork.
He said the ghost fork by Senga. I'm like, well, now you get the opportunity, my friend, to add that to your repertoire.
That?
I guess I'll start with the winners first. I'll start with the two New York teams. I think the Mets did fabulous. I mean, the Mets returned what was essentially a disaster in their bullpen into a strength. And they're now probably the second best bullpen in baseball, I would say, behind the Padres. I mean, the Padres are just whatever. I mean, nobody has under a 3 ERA in that bullpen. But what the Mets did was they were able to grab, and again, not just because I'm a Mets fan, but it's the facts. What the Mets were able to get, and Dan said it too, what the Mets gave up for 3 guys, 2 of them being former All-Star closers in Helsley and Soto, and then you add a Rogers in there with a Diaz and a Reed Garrett already having good seasons. And don't forget Brooks Raley coming back too. Brooks Raley, that's another big. So the Mets have 2 lefties. Remember, they had Minter. So I think the Mets did well in that front, getting a center fielder in Mullins. Everybody's like, oh, what's really the upgrade with Mullins? Trust me. Cedric Mullins has 15 home runs this year. Tyrone Taylor has 2. Also, the OPS, I think Mullins is over an 8. while Taylor has a 600 OPS, which Speedy, you know that's not good. It's bad. It's really bad. And then you can move McNeil back to his natural position at second base and everything like that. So I think getting Mullins for next to nothing was good. You didn't get a starter, but nobody did. I think the Yankees getting Bednar today, throwing Duvall in at the last moment, sneaking that one in there was a really good one. I like the McMahon trade. They didn't give up a lot to get Ryan McMahon. Obviously, again, same issue as the Mets, right? You need a starter. Couldn't get one. Why? Because everybody was asking for the moon, the sun, the stars, and the sky. That's why you couldn't do it. So I thought they did good. I guess by default, you kind of, for what they did, the Padres. I don't like what they gave up. But you got a Mason Miller to add to that bullpen now. And now Suarez was to the setup role, which I think we can all agree naturally it's what Robert Suarez, right, naturally is.
Based on the deal.
Yeah. I love what the Astros did. I love what they did. They didn't get the starter again, but you get Correa back. You're going to get Paradas back at some point. Yordan Alvarez is going to come back. I really, really, really love what they did to that perspective. I like what the Phillies did getting Duran. I don't like what they gave up for Duran. So I don't know if I'm going to put them in there's like a middle class.
Yes,
put them in.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, I would say my winners and the Mariners getting Naylor, getting Suarez. Fabulous job by them. Love what they did. So I would say the Mets, the Yankees, the Mariners, the Padres. I said too. I might miss one or two possibly, but I like what those teams did. The losers for me, the Braves. I don't even understand why you're hanging on to Marcell Ozuna. You're 45. What are they now? 42 and 65. You're out of it. You're done. Why are you hanging on to him? It made no sense to me. I didn't get it. The Cubs are another one. They got Soroka, but as Dan said, they should have done more. You're in a dogfight right now between a division and a wild card. A bye and a wild card with the Brewers. And the Brewers are another team I would say almost a loser too, because they didn't really do anything either, right? They didn't do anything at all. The Dodgers, to me, I'm shocked. The Dodgers were in every single rumor, and they came away with nothing.
Yeah,
this is their team.
But did they have to though?
I would say to a certain extent, because you don't know what the injury history is going to be with these guys. I don't know. I think they could. Kirby Yates has not had a great season for them, and now who's the lefty they signed? The closer last year. Who was the reliever they signed in free agency? Speedy.
Oh, it was Scott was one.
Tanner Scott.
Yeah.
He's going to be out for a while.
Yeah.
They have no bullpen right now. The Dodgers. This is their problem. I didn't like what they did. They didn't do anything. To me, I thought the Rangers were losers because they completely overpaid for Merrill Kelly. And the Diamondbacks. The package they got back for Suarez was not that great. And he was the number one target at the deadline. And they don't trade Zach Gallen. And he's leaving as a free agent. I'm not going to put the Marlins in there because the Marlins have control of Alcantara and Cabrera. But I would say the Braves, to me, were losers. I would say the Dodgers, the Brewers, the Cubs, and who was the last one I had? Texas. Oh, and the freaking White Sox. You idiots. You morons. Did you really think you were going to get Jonathan for freaking Luis Robert Jr.? And this is why Jerry Reinsdorf is a dumbass. There are two owners in baseball that rejected Steve Cohen. One was Arnie Moreno, dumbass, and the other one was Jerry Reinsdorf, idiot. Two clowns that don't know how to run. They don't know how to hold. No. If they knew how to run an organization, it would be a lot smoother. they're proving the point. They're the same organization, Speedy, that gave up their second-round draft pick to go sign Noah Syndergaard to a 1-year, $24 million contract, knowing that he had nothing left. The Angels. So those are my losers.
You know who I'm going to add into that?
Well, you could just say your list, but you
I
can
should.
answer.
I'm going to start with
Speedy, get ready. You're going to have
you were talking
to
about the
trump that
loser
one.
list. I know Dan liked the move for them, but
He picked the Giants as losers,
but
too.
this was their only move, right? And it's the St. Louis Cardinals,
Yeah.
right? You're in a position where you're trying to rebuild, you're trying to do some stuff, you're trying to move Arenado off the books and everything else, and you didn't get any of that done, right? You were able to move Steven Matz only. That's it. You know, you're running back with the same team you have. You know, they are pesky. Don't get me wrong, but could have done so much more to build for the future. So they're the first team I'm going to add a loser category. Sticking with the NL Central itself, the Brewers, I don't think they really had to make too many moves, right? They got stronger pitching wise. Brendan Woodruff seems to be back to being Brendan Woodruff, which is a huge ace for them, right? They moved Nestor Cortez, right? They still have plenty of pitching depth, it seems. They're a winner to me, right? Because guess what? They didn't have to make those moves, right? The Dodgers, they didn't have to make so much moves like that, right? Their payroll is astronomical to begin with, right? They have a team. Their offense can hit with anybody. Those guys in the tough positions, you know, in the bullpen coming out late, they'll be fine. They're still going to be the team to kind of worry about and beat, right? The Padres, great job. Great job, Padres. Mason Miller, Robert Suarez, the back end of that bullpen. Then it was, well, are we going to trade Cease? They made room. You know, they moved Bergert and Kolak so they can keep Cease in that rotation, right? So they can keep Suarez. They made the right moves, I think. You know, yeah, they sacrificed, obviously, prospects yet again. Go figure that. The Yankees, there were a lot of talk with the Yankees. Are they buyers? Are they sellers? Judge is injured. What are we going to do? Our bullpen's being ran thin. What did they do? They got David Bednar, Camille Duvall, Jake Burns, all strikeout guys. So they still have Devin Williams, right? Let's not forget Devin Williams was a top 5 closer entering the season. Regained form has been a little shaky, obviously, of late. But that's another huge, right? That bullpen, your starters go 5 innings. We'll take it from here, kind of thing. The Mets did the same thing. Phenomenal job by the Mets building their bullpen. What was the Mets' always big weakness every time we talk? The starters come out, the bullpen comes in, there's the game.
Yeah.
Right? After today's deadline, how you're feeling much more confident with the Mets right now with their bullpen and their moves. And rightfully so. You got Ryan Helsley, Edwin Diaz to end. That's a filthy 1-2 to begin with.
And the truth is, if Diaz is not available,
Helsley,
and if Helsley's not available,
Rogers,
no, not even Rogers. You go to Soto.
Exactly. You built it up that way. The starting pitching market, I think itself, was kind of the loser of the trade deadline. It didn't formulate and get to where a lot of teams were hoping for. So I'm not going to say necessarily teams for that, but I'm going to say the starting pitching market really kind of fell on its face, it seemed. And again, a lot of middle teams, right? Like the Astros, great job picking up Jesus Sanchez. I think that's an under-the-radar move, right? The fact Yordan Alvarez, how injured is he? He's going to be back, whatever else. Guess what? You still have now another lefty bopper to help out with that, right? I would have put them more in the winner's circle if they were able to get a deal done to get Dylan Cease. That was the one team in all of baseball I did not want to have Dylan Cease. So I'm kind of happy with that. And then the biggest loser, the team that has so much potential but didn't really do much, and I'm probably going to wear it, but I'm going to say the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Right?
Fair.
They got Shane Bieber. Do we know what Shane Bieber's going to be coming back from injury?
He's
like
been
this
good
fall?
he's been good in his rehab starts. So I mean, with Gossman and Barrios and
But same thing. And that was another team that I think could have gotten bigger in the bullpen area at the very least, right? In terms of if they got Duvall or if they got Bednar. We're talking about them distancing themselves that much more from the Yankees, for instance, right? So that's my take. Who's hot? Who's cold? Speedy, what do you got?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the same. The Mets and the Mariners are definitely my two biggest winners. Obviously,
Wieners? The Wiener Speedy?
No.
No, God! Where's Errol? Somebody needs to save the drop.
Yeah, they're definitely.
Oh, Speedy, that was great. They just made the whole show wonderful. Thank you.
All right, glad you're mishearing of it. Worked out in that favor, but yeah, those are definitely the two biggest winners. I think Seattle getting the offensive depth that they needed. Their top three are good, but they needed more. It wasn't historically bad as their offense last year to go along with the pitching that we know is very good for the Mariners and the Mets. This is the bullpen that I've been waiting for them to make for years now. They always go for either the older, flashy closers, these one-year deals with these like 35-year-old relievers. Finally, they get some guys that actually are versatile, lefty and one righty with Rogers.
Those are good winners.
Get more control. Yeah, you're gonna run with this for a while.
Oh, I wish we knew how to do it, the drop and save that.
And
actually, you know what? This is gonna be this show. I'm gonna send it. Yeah, we're gonna get it, and we're gonna time save it. I'm sending it.
Oh boy. Yeah, this will be one I'm gonna regret for you hearing it that way. All right, I guess we'll go with that.
My wieners.
I will not confirm nor deny if I heard it too.
Oh, you heard it.
I guess you can be the neutral party on
Speedy,
that
you're a winner.
Sure, we'll go with that. And I agree with your other one, Eric. I like the Astros too. I think getting the offensive depth what they needed. Yeah, could they have used Cease? Possibly, but I think their pitching and their star pitching is still very strong.
But also Cease isn't even having that good of a year though. That's the thing. And he's on an expiring contract. We all have to remember that. He has an ERA near 5.
Can you remember the name Yusei Kikuchi? Right?
Yeah.
Went from the Blue Jays last year to the Astros, and all of a sudden he was
an
ace.
Yeah, but my point is when you think about it, the Padres are still a good team. That's the part I'm trying to figure out. Why is he struggling on a good team? Going from a good team to a good team, I don't think it's really going to change anything. But
different mechanics, I guess.
Yeah, there's a methodology to the way the Astros have their science of pitching, I guess. Biggest loser, I think, is the same one you said, Josh, is the Cubs. I think they needed to go bigger on pitching, and they never did. They have a great run differential, so it's not like it's like a big liability, but it's enough where you could say in the playoffs, how much can you trust with not having Justin Steele healthy? Emanaga's been great since he come back, besides the one start against the White Sox, but it's not ideal. The Brewers, I think, could have used a little more offense, too. I don't love their offensive depth. There's some advanced stats that are like bottom 7, bottom 8 in the league for the Brewers. So how much can you trust that to be sustainable is another thing.
The Brewers have to get through the first round of the playoffs and win a playoff series. That's what they need to figure out how to do.
Yeah, I didn't love it on their end, what they did. And I'm with Dan was saying with the AL Central teams, a lot with the Twins and the Royals too, and like they were kind of stuck in that in between. I guess the Twins got decent value with Duran, but I think they could have pushed more to trade some of their other guys. I don't think they got great value back for Correa, and then the Royals too, kind of stuck in that in between. And then also the Cardinals, is maybe they could have sold more too because they are really bad at developing young players.
Well, I think it was a good day.
It was a fun day.
What do you guys think? It was a good day?
How is it like your thumb tired from just scrolling and trying to get the updates right away?
Yeah, I mean, of course it is. I mean, but then I'm surprised X didn't crash out. That's what I'm more surprised about. Speedy, this was fabulous. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you to Josh Bryan, of course, and for joining us this evening, and of course Dan Zimborski, both of them.
Yes,
they were great. Fabulous gets. Next week we're gonna get back to the regular lineup. We'll do baseball again, but obviously football. There's a game tonight, isn't there?
Oh, that's right. The Chargers play.
Whoa. Nobody cares.
Preseason.
And you know what's gonna happen? They're still gonna draw 10 million people. because the NFL is the king, the cash cows. But Speedy, thank you for all the work that you did helping us out. This was great.
It's appreciated.
We'll see how our teams do. I mean, me personally.
Listen, a first round exit means the trade deadline wasn't a success.
Why are you doing that already with the Yankees?
Oh, we'll see.
Am I wrong, Speedy? He's already doing that.
Hey, don't worry. You guys got Med Rosario. Big trade deadline move.
That was one of the funny when I saw they got
Jose
Rosario.
Caballero.
Oh my God! Again.
Let's go.
I just, to me,
any extra inning games, he's got to be the runner on second base.
I'm just really quick, Speedy. If you could do one thing for me, I'm having just a argument here with people. I'm sure family members of mine.
Oh, I think you're going to say Lyle.
No. Can you get the splits for Cedric Mullins this year? For left against lefty and right? Isn't he hitting really well against lefties?
I think so.
I just.
But it doesn't matter if you're talking if your argument with family, right, is Luis Robert against Cedric Mullins.
No. The argument was, do we get Mullins or should we just stay with Taylor and McNeil in center and do that?
Mullins is an upgrade.
All right, Mullins against lefties. It doesn't seem like it's very experienced, but he is hitting 298. It's a much smaller sample.
And what's he doing against righties?
He's hitting 204 against righties in a much larger sample with 12 home runs, 40 RBIs, 10 steals, and I
can imagine what's above replacement is. Oh goodness me! But that defense is a 0.1.
Yeah, it's a 0.1 WAR this year, so hopefully the offense picks it up, but it's still probably double of what Tyrone Keller has.
Think about it though. Him on the Mets, he doesn't have to be the guy like he was in Baltimore, right? Like he had to be the catalyst, the lead off, everything that way.
Yeah.
On base against lefties, 390.
I mean,
though. You can look at that.
I mean, my thought process is that he's coming in here. He's going to be the 7th or 8th hitter. That's what he is. I don't see a problem with that. And the Mets didn't give up anything for him, so it's like I don't because next year Carson Bench probably going to be the center fielder next year. So it's like Mullins is here to finish out the year and let Bench develop more until next year.
And was it a big haul to get him?
He had nothing to get him.
Okay.
That's why I don't understand what the complaint is. Like, why stick with what? Like, what? I don't understand. I don't understand the problem.
I feel like
why are we nitpicking at? Like, why are we nitpicking at something that doesn't even cost anything? Number one, and number two, why are we so worried about? Like, if we're so gung ho about this, then just put Jeff McNeil at second base and let Mullins be the center fielder, and Taylor will be the backup fourth outfielder. And then Beatty could come and do spot starts whenever. Like, but this is the problem as to why they didn't trade any of these. Like, I think Acuna is going to be sent down, right?
Yeah, seems
I think he's going to get sent down. I think one of these guys is going to get traded in the offseason. It has to happen. It has. You can't have all. I am still. But again, the Mets tried to offload Acuna, and the White Sox are like, nah, we're good. You don't have anybody else. So you're just going to pay Robert the $26 million option? That's what you're going to do?
Hey, you still need fans to show up to some games.
Yeah, they're showing up for Luis Robert Jr. Yeah, they're running there to that stadium. Right, Speedy? They're going. They're
going for those like tall milkshakes.
They're flocking it. Sorry, it's one of the dumpiest looking stadiums in baseball. It's also what I've heard. Check us out on worldwidesportsradio.com, YouTube, Periscope, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, and of course, Jabba and Meth have their TikTok. We also still have to do our You're Better Than That, which we have not done. Eric's eyes widen. He's like, oh my God, I forgot. Eric, you could go first with it. Speedy, you could go next. I'll go last.
I mean, we all kind of hit it with our winners and losers of the trade deadline itself, too, right?
Yeah, the White Sox suck. Sorry.
I mean, you kind of hit a few of them with the Padres.
The Padres, AJ Preble, you ruin everything.
Honestly, I'm gonna keep it with, again, it's our baseball trade deadline show. I'm going to stick with baseball trade deadline and baseball itself. And the fact that we're talking of potential salary cap and everything else this close to the trade deadline, when the hype, the buzz, and everything that should be going in right now to get more fan engagement and everything else, like they say that they want, the timing is terrible. So I want to say, because of that, come on, baseball, you're better than that.
Why is it when the Mets finally get an owner that can spend money, we have to do this? This would have been great 10 years ago with the Wilpons. Don't do it now. Speedy, go.
All right, so I'll do it from a money standpoint in a different sport, and that's in the NFL with everything that happened with the Raiders and Christian Wilkins, cutting him because he kissed a teammate on his head and robbed him of a bunch of guaranteed money. The Raiders, who are not a very talented team overall, just think they can get power because Tom Brady's there and Mark Davis, one of the dumbest owners in the NFL, is there. And you get rid of one of your best defensive players for some stupid reason when you've had players for the last 15 years that have gotten arrested for a lot worse. So the Raiders organization, I would think you're better than that, but we never know.
Mine goes to two things. One is Rob Manfred. First off, you are
is he ever better?
You are going into a sanctuary for players. Okay, that is the clubhouse is their space. That is their safe space. And you're going up to Bryce Harper to try to talk to him about a salary cap. Are you mental? Do you have problems? Are you an idiot? Or are you
All
a
of the
moron?
above.
Yes. I don't even understand the thought process in what you're trying to do. It is idiotic, it is stupid, it's moronic, and it's never going to happen. There'll be a floor, but there'll never be a salary cap. That's number one. Number two, owners. If you can't afford your team, you can't afford to spend your team. A la Colorado's in fan attendance every year. They're top 10 in attendance every year in baseball. God bless those fans. And your owner's not willing to give back, don't own the team. Sell it. The Baltimore Orioles get new ownership, right? What do? We're not going to do anything. Makes no sense. Does not understanding at all to me. I can't get behind it. It's horrible. It is stupid. It is just dumb. So Major League Baseball, first off, Rob Manfred, you dope. I would say you're better than that, but you've chosen not to be since you've gotten into office. So that's number one. Number two, owners, please, you're better than that. Players still getting paid. By the way, when's that NASCAR game where the game's going to be at the stadium for NASCAR? Is that Saturday?
Oh, is that already?
Is it Saturday for the rest? Man, they chose the Braves in that game.
Yep, August 2nd. Yep. Bristol, Tennessee.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Did you see the center field? It looks really cool. Just unfortunate the Braves are going to be in it.
Oh,
well, they won't be chopping anything this year. So
yeah, no, I see the view. It is.
By the
cool.
way,
it's pretty cool.
I really do hope Ronald Acuna's okay.
Oh, of course,
because that was bad. It's not good, and I have a feeling this is going to hinder him his career. So, yeah. Want to thank all of our listeners, all of our followers. Thank, of course, Dan Zaborski and Josh Bryant for joining us tonight. This was fabulous. Speedy, as always, thank you so much. Eric, it was a pleasure to see you in the studio, my friend.
Wow. Not bad.
Yeah, he'll be back at home next week.
He'll be back in 3 months when you guys make another fantasy football trade.
Oh, man. Let me tell you something.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, this was a fantastic, great, fun show. Hopefully, I hope you're happy with the Yankees and what they did. Speedy, I know you're happy with what the Mets did.
Absolutely.
I know Errol is not happy with what the Yankees did.
No, they didn't trade Jazz Chisholm.
Jazz Chisholm.
That's right.
That's right. He's got to get more libido. Get it, Jazz? Well, I'm just thinking about it for a second. Jazz Chisholm. He's more libido, my friend.
The
Yeah.
winners and the losers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it can all be, what are they? Beggars and choosers.
That's it.
Again, don't forget to check out Job of the Month on Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, our show Game On on Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Snowman in the morning, 5 days a week. At what time, Speedy? At 6
It
a.m.?
varies usually. It's anytime from 8 to 11.
8 to 11. And then, of course, the Weekend Crunch with Speedy and Arrow on 103.9 FM on Saturdays at 7 p.m. right after the New York Islanders play. Guys, this was fabulous. This was great. We're on way over the time we usually end, so that made it even better. There's a lot to digest to take it. Next week, we'll have our regular lineup back. We'll get into the baseball. We'll get to football next week. We'll do basketball. Discuss all that and more. Maybe Terry McLaurin will be a Jet next week.
No.
What? And the Super Bowl is still not on. But we're on with Game On, joining you every single Thursday. We'll talk to you guys next week. Hopefully you're all happy with your teams after today. And we'll see how the baseball season unfolds. Take care, everybody. Any last words, Eric?
Let the fun begin.
Speedy.
Let's go Mets.
Oh, wow. Through that. Wow, that was
Gave you a fiery one, Josh.
All right. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm
The
not
guns,
sitting down for that.
guns and guns and blazing. We'll talk to you all next week, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your sports. See you Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This has been Game On with our MLB Trade Deadline special. We'll talk to you next week.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Radio Network.